the Quasidb morning bulletin for the 1st of July 2022. The risk calculation indicated a little bit of a risk on. However, what's happening here is that the UK 100 is being sold. And if the retail guy is short a particular index, it's going to impact the average, okay? So they're really shorting the FTSE, and that's the explanation for this green sell there. However, they're buying the dip on US 30, S&P, the DAX as well. So it's just that they're shorting the FTSE. And note that the VIX is still elevated. It's not coming down for a multitude of reasons, and especially after Powell's comments this week. Note what the yen bubble is doing as well. So if you've got access to the spreadsheet, it won't take 1 minute to just open up the spreadsheet on your mobile and check your yen bubble there. I think it's going to gravitate down, and we're probably going to come into strong buy, which is the first time that's happened in probably two months, 2.5 months, maybe longer. If you remember, the yen bubble was over here for ages, and it just punished the retail guys. I think the UJ bears were down over 1,000 pips, so that just completely annihilated retail guys. After blowing them up, it's going to move, okay, and it has moved. Whether or not we'll continue, you'll need to see. So remember to get the Google Sheets application on your mobile. It's not so well formatted if you just go to this URL on a browser. If you get the app, it formats it much nicer. So that being said, so be careful here, because we're probably on the precipice of a big slide, especially if the yen comes down. It's going to join the safe havens, the dollar and the Swiss franc. So be careful. And you can read this anyway. I've got the link on Telegram. So what's interesting is AJ slight red, right, and GJ slight red. So you know that's telling us that these are short opportunities. However, we do want it to flip at the high level. All right. So UK 100 shifted a lot, as you can see, and oil as well. However, we might see a strengthening on the yen. If so, that these sales are going to get darker red. So we'll have to see how we are on Monday. I've got a feeling that they're going to try and buy the dip, and if so, then these colours are going to become darker, and there'll be a stronger sell for us. Currency strength meter. There's the yen bubble. There's the yen strength. Sorry, and there's the yen bubble. So we had the heads up on that move. Alright, so there's that movement. It's the second strongest on the horizontal. CAD is strongest, yen is second strongest. So very, very interesting. There's the yen strength on H4. It's mega strong on H4. And probably what we'll see is that we'll see this subtly overtake its peers. So the next thing, if you want it to be quite savvy, would be to look at a Kiwi yen. Or if you're thinking about like a positional play, if the yen does beat the Kiwi, that could be your first. That could be a good trade. That's going to be its first target on a monthly basis. So if yen, the Kiwi concedes, then that's going to be the first to fall, and the yens could be like become a bit of a monster, and it can start chewing people up. So the Kiwi yen, that's what I'm going to be looking at next week. If I see any setups, I'll let you guys know. But that looks like a potential candidate for a trade. And obviously we would need risk off. And we have to remember we've got US holiday on Monday because it's the 4th of July. So I might not open any trades on US holiday. I might do that trade on Tuesday because historically it's one of the bullish, most bullish days of the year. Historically speaking, is the 4th of July. Because the US are on holiday, I think people try and take the opportunity to short the markets, thinking that they can get one step ahead of the big fish. And I did this when I first started, thinking, oh, it's a good time to short the indices while in America's on holiday. But we have to remember the algorithms are constantly running, so I think that's the rationale for it to perform well the 4th of July. So I am not going to probably take any trade on Monday, but I'm going to see what happens on Monday night, and then I'm potentially going to do a Kiwi yen, right? But I'll keep you guys in the loop. There's the yen and there's the Kiwi, right? So that's the second strongest and that's the weakest. So on a bubble perspective, it makes sense. but I'm going to wait for Monday night because I think we might go risk on if we look at, you know, historical values. So hopefully that's clear. And the reason for the 4th of July doing well is people try and take advantage. They think that they're taking advantage of the market, of the US on holiday, but it never works out for them. That's just a quick overview where we are right now as a snapshot. So perhaps I could call that a snapshot actually. Yeah, so S&P, they went long, and so, you know, we're going to have some resistance here. We had a big player, a huge bet on the S&P at 2 o'clock yesterday, and it was over $1 billion on a long position. So they would have probably capitulated by now, I'd imagine. However, I don't know how their position whether or not where their stops are, we don't know. But we just know that a big entry occurred at 3777, and it was a $1.4 billion bet. So keep an eye on that, and we might be risk on Monday, and then we could probably maybe puke potentially Monday night. So be careful. There's them going long, so I hope that's clear, and that's the reason for it to fall. And I made some notes here. I wonder whether or not they're going to have to come in and rescue, because if we do puke, it could go into like a free fall. US 30 likewise, keep an eye on that low. We probably should be breaking that low, but I don't know if we're going to see any intervention. And gold sentiment, we broke 1800, like I've been saying every day on my bulletins, if you've been watching them. And the reason for it to fall was simply just looking at your percentage long. It wouldn't make too much sense for price to come up because they're long, right? So we do the opposite. And what is very, very interesting is that these yield curves have come down. These yields have come down, and it's what's happening with the yield curve is possibly going to steepen. So we have 10-year to pump. We're not going to see a steepening, a curve at the long dated yields, right? And so we get that to pump a bit more, we're not going to have an inversion, and then therefore we could potentially have like a risk on relief rally on Monday. Okay, so keep an eye on that, and I'm trying to make the video a bit quicker as well. I want to try and keep it under 10 minutes. So I think maybe one more puke required today, and that's possibly maybe going to be it. If the yields you know, they normalize, that's going to be a risk on indication. So we just get that to pump up a little bit more, and then this curve, this yield curve, will steepen. I think I need a coffee. There's gold, 7% shift, so that's the largest mover, and the largest stop loss clusters AU, which is absolutely ridiculously huge at 67.85, and the size is 7.39. So that looks likely. For a probe, especially if we're going to be risk off, we should be getting that liquidity below. It's huge. And we had a dollar CAD signal yesterday. We had a 17 pip profit. It was okay. We had some resistance overhead, so we want to keep an eye on 129.48. We get above, then we're going to have resistance at 1.3 because we've got a double top formation, which you might have seen in my video yesterday. So be careful if we get a dollar CAD signal again. We have some resistance overhead, but above that it might be good, and then we can target 1.3. So you've got about 50 pips on the offer in there potentially. And just to summarize, you know, strong sell, strong buy. That's moving away from strong buy. Dollar yen, that was strong buy yesterday. Okay, now we'll just buy. If we go to neutral, you know where we're going to be going next. Strong sell. So that should be quite clear. Arrows indicating the high risk events. Be very careful with the euro. Yeah, just be very, very careful. And this is going to be a huge mover as well. So I can be contacted over the weekend if you have questions. You know, just let me know. I'm always happy to help. Just if you've got any queries or any questions, just let me know. And I am going to wrap up the video now because it's going to be longer than I anticipated. So keep calm, always trade safely, and have a wonderful weekend. And thanks for your support. I really appreciate it, and if I can help in any way, just let me know. And there's my links down there as well. So have a great weekend, and I'll speak to you on Monday. We might be risk on because it's US holiday. Okay, so I'll speak to you soon.